National PB&J Day is just around the corner, so today I wanted to share with you my peanut butter and jelly cupcakes recipe. Right, first we are going to sift our dry ingredients together. So I'm going to put in my flour. This is self-raising flour, 125 grams. I have 125 grams of caster sugar. And to that, I am going to add a teaspoon of salt. You need quite a lot of salt in this for the peanut butter flavour to come out. And we need some raising agent. This is a half teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. So we'll sift all those together into our bowl, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. One of the reasons I love peanut butter and jelly. Being in the UK, we don't get jelly here like you do in the States and in Canada, but I have family over there, so I got introduced to it during one of our many visits over, and I adore peanut butter and jelly. So that's my dry ingredients sifted in there. To that, I'm going to add 125 grams of room temperature cubed unsalted butter. Just make sure that your butter is nice and soft so that can you see how it's squeezing under my finger? Just to make sure that it mixes really well with your mixture. If it doesn't squeeze that easily without leaving an oily residue, it's too hard. And then it won't combine with your ingredients, so it will affect your bake. So lovely and soft, it's stuck to the bowl. There we go. There we go. And to that, I'm going to add 2 eggs. I always use free range and large eggs, as I've mentioned in my other videos. I just find that they give the best flavours, and I've always worked with large eggs actually. I've never used medium. There we go. And my final ingredient to this is, of course, peanut butter. If you're making peanut butter cupcakes, you need peanut butter. This is 100 grams. Now I tried this with a bit less peanut butter, but I just found that it wasn't peanut buttery enough for me. I wanted more flavour. So that's all my ingredients in there, apart from the milk, which I'll come to in a moment. I'm just going to get all that last bit of peanut butter off my spatula. And let's get mixing. Now, we're going to start it on slow just to get all the ingredients to mix up together, and then we're going to turn the speed high to really get some air into it. I don't know about you, but I could eat peanut butter straight from the jar. It is that addictive for me. I always try and get whenever I buy peanut butter, I always try and get the best peanut butter I can. I find quite often that peanut butter, store labelled peanut butter can contain quite a lot of sugar and not so much of the actual peanut butter. Just to make sure that I am getting 100% peanut butter and no added sugar or any other added flavourings in my peanut butter. And it just gives a much nicer flavour, I find. Right, so that's all mixed up. I've just scraped my bowl down just to get anything that was on the side that hadn't got mixed in. And now I'm going to whack the speed up for about a minute just to get some air in and to get it really thoroughly beaten up and mixed up. That's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of milk just to loosen my batter a little bit and make it a bit more smooth. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll actually notice that this recipe is very similar to my vanilla cupcake recipe tutorial. So I'm just going to give this a final quick whisk for maybe 10 seconds or so, just to get everything mixed up. I'm going to mix it slow and then turn it up. And that is our batter done. So I'm just going to scrape it down. I'm going to show you what it should look like. It's very light, as you can see from here, and it's very soft and easy to flick around, but also to get into my cupcake cases. Now, while I was making this, I've had my oven preheating My oven has been on 160. A lot of cupcake recipes I've found in the past will often ask for you to have your oven at 180. I found that made my cupcakes cook too quickly, so then they exploded in the middle. So I turned it down and increased the amount of time that they were in the oven for, and that just is what worked for me, which is why all my recipes now are based on that theory. So give it one more quick stir, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. There you go. And that is what you want it to look like. So it's quite pale. It's got a slight browny peanut buttery colour, and it's really lovely and soft. So all that's left now is to pipe it into my cases and pop them in the oven. Good old trusted 2-spoon method. So you want to fill your cupcake cases about 2/3 full. Don't overfill them, and try and make it a bit more evenly. This is where using an ice cream scoop actually really helps, because it means you get the same amount in each scoop. So I'm just doing it by eye and just squishing them down a bit and into the corners so that I can see how much I've got in each one. Right, so those are all done. So I'm going to pop them in the oven. They'll take about 22 minutes in the oven, and I will come and see you to make some buttercream once they're out of the oven. Buttercream time. So to start, we are going to put butter in. This is unsalted butter, as always. It is at room temperature and it is nice and soft, so it will beat up really well. This is 115 grams of unsalted butter. Pop that in my mixing bowl. And I also have the same quantity, so 115 grams of peanut butter, because it's peanut butter cupcakes, of course. Peanut butter and jelly cupcakes recipe, of course. So we'll pop both those in, and then we're going to leave this to whip for a good 5 minutes. I'm just going to beat it on a high speed to get it really light and airy before I add my sugar into it. Now I used to use my whisk attachment to make icing, but I actually found that it can let too much air into your buttercream, so it makes your buttercream a bit hard to work with. Using this allows the air in, but it makes it more stable, so it's easier to pipe or to spread your buttercream however you're going to use it. So I would always suggest using a paddle rather than your whisk attachment. So all I'm going to do now, like I said, is just mix it really slowly just to get both incorporated, and then put it on a high and leave it to run for about 5 minutes. That's looking pretty good. Right, so now it's time to put the icing sugar in. This is 200 grams of icing sugar. I have sifted it into this bowl. For those of you who have worked with icing sugar, you will know icing sugar goes everywhere. I'm going to put this into my bowl and be prepared for the cloud to form. I'd try and do it in 2 or 3 goes, so I don't measure it especially because I've already measured it in here and sifted it. I'm just going to dump it in and just incorporate it gradually. Let's do a wee bit. And to help with the cloud, I have a tea towel. Right, that batch is incorporated. I'm going to scrape down any that's gone up the sides. I'm going to add another batch in. More icing sugar. That will do. Put this back on again. Here we go. Awesome. That will do. Right, so what we've got here is a really, really thick mixture because of the icing sugar. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a really good whip so that the icing sugar gets some air in when it's mixed with the butter and the peanut butter as well. And then we'll add some milk in. And there we go. So I'm going to scrape this down, scrape my bowl down again, and then I'm going to put between 1 to 2 tablespoons in. So you're just looking for the consistency of buttercream that you like. Because I'm going to pipe it, I don't want it to be too thin because I want it to be able to hold its shape once I've piped it on top of my cupcakes. Here's my milk. So I'm going to start with 1, lick the icing off my hand. I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon, and if I need more, I will add more in. Now, like with the icing sugar, I'm going to start mixing it in on a low speed, just to make sure it's incorporated properly and it doesn't splash out everywhere. Although it'll still splash, I'm sure. Awesome! Right, so my buttercream is now ready. Right, so what I have to do now, let's pop that there for a moment. This is my icing. Lovely and soft and pipeable. That is just beautiful. So I'm going to put that into a piping bag in a few minutes. Before I do that, I'm going to get my cupcakes. So my cupcakes cooked for 22 minutes, and then I let them cool in the tin for a few minutes before I pull them out, and I've cooled them completely on this rack. They are beautiful and brown and golden. They've got a crispy top, but they are going to be soft and fluffy in the middle. Right, so now we're going to fill our cupcakes. So what I like to do is I like to cut a hole in the middle and pull out some of the middle of the cupcake so that I can fill it with jam. So you get this lovely surprise jam center in your cupcake. So all I'm doing is I'm cutting a circle. You can see with my knife, you can get little contraptions that get it out as well, but I find this works just as well. And I put my knife in, make sure you don't go all the way to the bottom, so you want to go about 3/4 of the way down, and just ease it up, and it should just pull up a bit of your cupcake like that. So we've got a lovely well, and I've got some here. I've got some raspberry jam. It's a smooth jam. We don't get jelly in the UK, unfortunately, so I couldn't use jelly for my peanut butter and jelly cupcakes recipe. So I've had to turn it into the British version, which is peanut butter and jam recipe instead. Jam cupcakes. So anyway, I'm just going to grab a spoonful or so, and I'm just going to pop it in there. And you can put in a bit more if you want. Oop. Flying jam. So it depends on how jammy you want it to be. I like it, so I'm going to put a bit more in. So that's almost full, and I'm going to take the bit that I cut off and push it back down over the top, just like that. So once you've done them all, what we're going to do, we're going to go back to our icing, this beauty that we left here, and we're going to get it into our piping bag. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop my buttercream, and just using my hand underneath as a rest to push it out, and I'll push it down into the bag and then get as much of it off on there. There we go. That is good icing. And then this bit that I folded down, I'm just going to hold it and just give it a shake, and it'll all drop through. So you can see where my icing is, but this is nice and clear, so I'm not going to get it all over my hands. So squish it together and squeeze it down. Time to ice our cupcakes. So this was the one that I filled with jam. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put a blob in the middle, and then I'm going to let go of it and go on the outside, and I'm going to draw a circle and come up. That's all it is. So a nice little blob in the middle, and that's just going to help us get the height in the middle of the cupcake. And starting on the outside, take your time. There is absolutely no rush. And there you have it. There's my piped cupcake, my first one for you. And then all I'm going to do just for a bit of crunch, because I didn't put any crunchy peanut butter in my cupcake itself, which you can do, I'm going to put some salted peanuts across the top because it gives a nice little texture. And who doesn't like a few extra peanuts? And there you have it. My perfect peanut butter and jelly cupcakes recipe, all for you. They are absolutely amazing. You are going to love them.